Hi there, welcome back to the channel. My name is Michael. Today we're going to be talking about some of my favorite non-fiction horror books. So these are books that cover other stories, they cover movies, cover aspects of horror that I really enjoyed. All these books I do recommend reading. They are lots of fun, and let's get into it. Okay, so I'm just going to mention this book briefly because I think a lot of people that watch this channel probably already read it, but that is The Paperbacks from Hell by Grady Hendrix. This is the sort of quintessential book on learning about horror from the 80s and 90s, or 70s, 80s, and 90s, and the horror paperbacks. This is illustrated very lovely. There is lots and lots of good photos in here, covers of different books, and this is pretty much like a step-by-step guide into how to start a collection. So yeah, I do recommend this Paperbacks from Hell. So one of my favorite non-fiction horror books I've read the last few years is Ghostland: In Search of a Haunted Country by Edward Parnell. This is a beautifully illustrated cover. It's showing up too bright there. There you go. This is sort of part history of British horror authors slash sort of family grief journal as we travel with the author as he sort of goes back to his hometown and he's dealing with the loss of family members over the years, his parents, his brother, and how he sort of ties in his love of British horror and the landscapes with the land that he grew up on and the land that his family is connected to. This is very sad, but also very informative. I love this book. I do recommend reading this if you get a chance. This is a beautiful book. And this cover is just, it's wonderful. This is a wonderful a book to have in your collection for sure. All right, next up is The Monster Show by David J. Scow. This is another book that's sort of the history of horror. Daisy's barking. So this is the history of horror, sort of from early films and how it's evolved over the years. Very informative, very good read. It's mainly focused on horror movies, but there is lots of information on here about early horror films and their sort of evolution to getting scarier and scarier. We've got lots of good illustrations, early Universal monster designs. A fantastic read. David J. Scull also has a book out on vampires, which is like the history of vampires, which is another phenomenal one. I'll see if I can go find that in my bookshelf. Okay, I found it. It's a huge tome. Vampires. This is a massive, massive book. This is a bunch of stories, collection of works of vampire stories, as well as commentary in the margins on all the different vampire stories and history of the authors. This thing is comprehensive as F. So yeah, if you like vampires and you want to learn more about vampires and just have a general tome that you can carry around your house and scare your friends with or hit burglars with, this is definitely the book for you. And I happen to found another David J. Scull book. This is Death Makes a Holiday, and this is the history of Halloween. This is another great non-fiction book about the history of Halloween and how it got influenced by when it sort of moved to North America from Europe and sort of the history of that, where it grew out of. Yeah, another great book on Halloween by David J. Scull. All right, next up is Scream by Margie Kerr. This is a book she's doing pretty much her studying on what makes people get scared. And by doing that, she actually goes to a bunch of different haunted exhibits, and she's actually an advisor for haunted exhibits, so she documents some of that in this book. This is a really fun read. I just happened to find this for like $2 on at the bookstore. It was just one of those bargain bin things, but this is a great read if you get a chance. Scream by Margie Kerr. It also glows in the dark, which we will see if that works. Yeah, you can't really tell. But yeah, it's supposed to glow in the dark. This is one of the most kick-ass books in my group of these. This is House of Psychotic Women by Kira Janice. This is sort of her autobiographical book of her growing up and her youth and how it got influenced by the horror movies that she was watching. This thing is very, very in-depth. It's very personal. It's a great book. It has probably I'd say, the best photographs in any horror movie collection. Every page has posters, stills, tons of beautiful things. There's a full color section in the middle that has lots of different posters. So yeah, if you want to read about women in horror, this is definitely the place to start, and this is a fantastic read. She just re-released this, I think, the 10-year anniversary as a hardcover. Came with a CD as well. Yeah, I highly recommend this book if you get a chance. Okay, I'm going to end with a couple fun ones. First one is True Indie, Life and Death in Filmmaking by Don Coscarelli. This is the film director who made Phantasm and has a number of other wacky B movies, but he's most well known for Phantasm. This is sort of his history of writing movies and making movies, his autobiography. This is a lot of fun. I do recommend this one if you get a chance. Don Coscarelli, he's a funny character, and reading about how they made Phantasm and Phantasm 2 and all the Phantasm movies is just lots of great. And in honor of that, I have my Phantasm ball right here. Okay, and lastly, these two books kind of go together. One of my favorite movies is the Evil Dead series, so I'm going to recommend these two books if you get a chance to read them. First is If Chins Could Kill, Confessions of a B-Movie Actor by Bruce Campbell. This is a wonderful book talking about his early career in acting. There's a large focus on his growing up with Sam Raimi and them making horror movies together, as well as making Evil Dead. This is lots of fun. He's got two more books that are also lots of fun, but this is definitely one you should pick up and read if you get a chance. And to go with this, I recommend The Evil Dead Companion by Bill Warren. This is sort of a behind the scenes of making the Evil Dead movies and making Army of Darkness. This one sort of intercuts interviews with sort of anecdotal people talking about the movies and talking about making it. Another great read. This one, these two together, should fulfill all of your Evil Dead dreams, and they'll be well put with those. And lastly, I think I've mentioned this book before, but the research book Incredibly Strange Films is a wonderful, wonderful book about all the wacky films from the 50s and 60s. This sort of set me up for, I don't know, being weird from when I was a teenager, when I first read this book, when I was about 15 or 16. And I read all about Herschel Gordon Lewis and all of the Russ Meyer films. Yes, Russ Meyer. But yeah, this is a fantastic book. Lots of interviews, lots of things on sexploitation. There's lots of great photos in here. Stuff about interviews with different authors. There's different movie posters throughout. Really, really well done. Got Tour Satana there. Yeah, if you like Russ Meyer films, then that's definitely a good book to have. Talking about Astro Zombies, Ted V. Michaels. Yeah, if you want to learn about old scuzzy horror movies and sort of scummy movies and biker movies, this is a good book to pick up and try to get a read on. I think it's still in print, I think, so you should be able to find it. If not, it's probably a used copy somewhere. I'm sure that some of the people that have bought this book have probably died, so you could probably find their books online. Yeah. Okay, that's it for the day. Yeah, again, just some nonfiction horror books that I enjoy that I think you guys should probably pick up if you get a chance to read them, if you want something to splice in between your horrific readings that you're doing, or your science fiction readings. So that's it for the day. Hope you guys have a good rest of your week, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.